Here you want to understand mensuration in mathematics, and I will demonstrate that with this exams question. Okay, now the question says that in the diagram, right? So this is a diagram, so you can see that this is not drawn to scale. Is that okay? So the black portion here, that was what a square, and then this is what a circle inside of that square, right? So in the diagram, a circle is drawn in a square PQRS, right? So as I said earlier on, we have the circle inside of the square. So you can just imagine this thing to be, let's say you have an apartment or a room. So assuming this is the room, right? So let's say this is the room, and then you have a portion where you can place your wardrobe. Is that okay? So let's say this is your wardrobe here, right? So you can see that this is a wardrobe inside of the room. So this one is your room, right? So this is your apartment, very beautiful apartment here. And then you have a wardrobe inside of. You can see that this wardrobe here is taking what space in the room. Is that okay? This wardrobe here covers some portions of what the space in that room. So that was just the imagine or the scenario behind all that. The circle has taken a space out of the square here. And now let's look at what they are trying to tell us to find out. And they say if the total area of the shaded portion is 42 squared centimeter, right? The total area of the shaded portion, so this portion here, this portion here. So this is the space that the wardrobe has taken. Is that okay? And then the rest of the space that are left behind. So this is the scenario. Is that okay? So this portion here is being taken by the wardrobe here. So this is the remaining aspect of the room, right? So this is the free space that we have in the room. Is that okay? And then we are told that if this portion here is 42 squared centimeters. Remember that's the area, right? For 42 centimeters or square centimeters. And then they're asking us to find or calculate the radius of the circle, right? And then we are giving power to be 22/7. They say we should find the radius of the circle, right? So that is all about this question. And then before I proceed here, one thing you have to pay attention to in what menstruation is that it's all about formula based. What I mean by formula based, you should know exactly what to use, right? So that's the most important thing. If you don't know what to use, let's say you should find a perimeter of what of a something of, let's say, a perimeter of what of a rectangle, right? So rectangle here, you should know exactly what a perimeter is, and then you should know what this rectangle is. So I would advise you to have a note and then jot down all the formulas you come across under what this topic, right? So this topic. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel for more exams of lessons. The question says that you should calculate the radius of the circle. Now, you see, as I said earlier on, you must know the meaning of the radius, right? So the radius here is starting from the center. So this is the center. Any line that from the center that touches up anywhere on the circle, right? So mathematically, you can say this is the circumference, right? So to avoid those technical terms here, let's say this is the centers of the circle. Now, if you move from the center and you touch what anywhere along the circle, that's also what we call what radius. Is that okay? So let's represent that radius by what r. This is exactly what they are asking here to find. Okay, now how do you do that? So the solution that I'm having here is that we can let b, right, or we can let r be what the radius of the circle. So this r here can be the radius of the circle. That's the initial letters of the radius. And then remember that two things are being combined here. That is what the squared and the circle. Is that okay? The circle is inside what the square. So now you need to know information on what on those two figures. So the question here, we are told that the shaded portion is what 42 squared centimeters. Is that okay? 42 squared centimeters. Now the length of what the side of the square here will be what? Is that okay? So you need to know that length because you are told that the circle is inside what? Inside the square, right? So the circle is inside the square. So you need to know the size of what this square here before you can determine the shaded portion. Is that okay? Okay, fine. Now for you, if this guy from here to here is what r, what do you think from here to here would be? That would be the double the r. I getting the point. So everything from here to here will give us 2r, right? So 2r, because from here, that's the, let's say this is the half of what the entire what dimension here. So I mean from the end to end here is what double this one, right? So you can see that the length of one side of what this square here will give us what 2r. Now let's see how you can use this information. Now that we know these two guys, so that's exactly what I have here to be 2r. Now remember, the information that they give us is that the area of the shaded portion is what 42 square centimeters. So we know that the area of the shaded portion, that is equal to what, right? So the information that they gave you in the question, that is what you are going to use to determine what they are asking you to find. We are given that the area of the shaded portion is what 42 squared centimeters. So how can you determine the area of the shaded portion? So here you can see straightly that if your wardrobe is inside your room and then the wardrobe has taken what a space or a portion in your room, you can determine that if you know the size of the room here, and then you take this guy, the size of what the wardrobe out of here, you can know the remaining what spaces that you are having for other items. Is that okay? So this is the size of the wardrobe and this is the entire room here. If you know the size of the room and you know the size of this wardrobe here, you can determine the remaining spaces, right? Just by subtracting. So that's exactly the idea that we are going to use to solve this problem here. So how to do that is that the area of the shaded portion, that is equal to the area of the square, the bigger one. So the square can be the room, right? So the area of the room here minus the area of the square. That's the area of the wardrobe that you place inside the room. Is that okay? Now the question that we were told the area of the shaded portion was what 42, right? 42. And then this guy, that's why I said that you need to know the meaning of this guy, the area of the square. So you must know the definitions of area of square here. So the length square, that's the definitions of the area of the square. So length here squared minus what the area of the circle. That's another thing you have to know. If you don't know this, and there's no way you can solve this type of problem, right? So here you are going to add the area of the circle. That's what pi r squared. Is that okay? So we just proceed from here. Everything just follows as it is. So here we know that the length of the square, right? So the length of the square here, meaning the size from here to here, right? So that's the length of the square. So initially you had 2r, right? So 2r here, and then so 2r square, right? Remember, those the L here, the length of the square, that's the 2r here squared minus what the pi here, we are giving pi to be 22 over 7 and then multiply by what the r square. Is that okay? Here straightforward, you just need to manipulate this guy and arrive at what your r. So let's see how to solve this problem. Now the best way to solve this equation is to multiply everything by 7. That's the LCM here, right? You are going to multiply everything here by 7, and then you have what something called what a linear equation, right? So a linear equation. Now let's see how to multiply by 7. So you are going to multiply this guy, the 42 by 7, multiply everything here by 7, and then you multiply this guy here, that's the 22 over 7 r square multiplied by 7. You can see that this guy cancel out, this guy will cancel that, right? So if you multiply this guy by that one, that will give us 294. And then here, remember, you have to solve the bracket first, right? So you're solving the bracket first. You are going to have this guy 2 squared, that gives us 4, and the r square also gives us the r square, and then minus 22 multiplied by what? The r square, right? So here now you can use this 7 to multiply the brackets here. So that gives us what 28 r square, right? So we have 294 is equal to 28 r square minus 22 r square. So this guy, we can combine the two of them. We can solve these two people, right? Because they are common, or they are like terms. You can see the r square here, you can see the r square here. So you just need to subtract 28 minus 22. Right? So that gives us 6r square. Is that okay? Now remember that we are looking for the r. That's what the question asks us to find. And then here you have to divide both sides by 6. Right? So if you divide both sides by 6, you should have what 49. That is equal to what r square, right? So the 6 here will cancel the 6. So this 6 will cancel the 6. Now, if you are enjoying this video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any question. Okay, we have 49 is equal to r squared here. So remember, we are looking for this r. R stands for what? The radius, right? So we are going to take a square root of both sides of the equation. The square root of 49, that gives us 7, and then square root of the r squared is equal to r. So finally, we have what our radius is equal to 7. So this is how simple you solve what mensuration. Once again, in mensuration, you have to make sure that you are familiar with what the definitions. What I mean by the definitions, those are the formulas. They are your tools, right? They are your backbones to solve more questions on this.